All right, 6 o'clock.
No,
Huh?
no public comment.
No. Oh, don't jump the gun
I
yet.
forgot,
goodness,
we have to
no.
have Ricky take the roll, right?
Yeah.
Arguing the time.
Yeah, exactly.
No, yeah.
It's
Roll call, please.
6.
Michael Cashel,
Present.
Thomas Wood,
I'm here.
Nick LaFave,
Here.
Barb Heber,
Present.
Charles Costick,
Here.
James Coffey.
Here.
And Rick Collins.
No.
They're all-
Now, is there any public comment?
Didn't hear that.
Mrs. Blake,
No. I'm here though.
All right, not too much to report, but some important information that I wanted to make sure to share. Thanks to Chuck and Mel and the entire safety committee, we have made significant progress on a training that will be coming up, and I would very much like to encourage the council members to participate if you can. Obviously, I know it will be during the workday. But March 27th, there will be a 7:15 a.m. and a 9 a.m. slot for active shooter training. This is something that I have long wanted, and with a bunch of different things going on, having Chuck and others involved, we have a court system in this building, and there is an ongoing need for our employees, I believe, just to have that training and understanding and conversation for active shooter training. I don't believe any current activities are what I would put a push pin in, but as a public space, this is something that I certainly do believe that we would benefit from. So,
never know.
yeah.
You said it's March 27th?
March 27th.
What were the times again, Mike?
7:15 a.m. is one slot, and 9 a.m. is another
Who will
slot.
be doing it?
One of the folks from the sheriff's department. I believe.
It's,
Oh, okay.
Lieutenant Leon from the Sheriff's
That's
Department.
really good. Thank you for doing that.
Yes, he's had a program that he's done with the county. So he's done it to various county offices. So.
Yeah.
Chuck's been working hard on this safety, setting up, getting
Good.
people for us.
Thank you, Chuck.
Employees can't concealed carry here, can they?
No.
But the public can.
Whatever, I won't quote the direct law, whatever the laws of.
I don't
fall
know,
under,
that's why I'm
yeah.
asking.
So,
I have no
I
idea.
don't know. It's happened in schools, it's happened in the airport, it's happened all over.
yeah, but I'm not trying to get on a political item one way or the
No, I
other.
understand.
And I want people to know that this training is something that I've wanted for a while. As a public space that has a court system, and in fact, when I was down in the New York City for the Association of Towns, they strongly encourage that this is something that you do at least once a year or every other year, to understand your public spaces, your egress, so on and so forth. And, we're gonna put a lot more emphasis on safety training on this. Art, when he was here, he did a lot of that coordination. Mel has been doing some of the continued tailgate safety trainings with the shops, but fire training, etc. So thanks to you, Chuck, and others for helping out there. Just a quick point of interest for you folks. Many of you will remember that last year when we did the formal shared services panel, that was a mandate through the governor's office, that all 14 town supervisors formally requested that we have ongoing conversations with the county legislators, all town supervisors, and the mayors, the villages, and of course the city of Plattsburgh. Harry McManus and I have put together an opportunity in March where we're going to convene a meeting and continue those conversations. We've also reached out to Assemblyman Jones' office and Senator Little, because we feel as though that they, as state legislators, may need to help us, identify obstacles in the state bureaucracy that need to change for us to be able to coordinate shared services. Shared services has been going on ever since the common handshake within the region. That's not to say that we haven't been doing it, but we believe that there's still opportunities that by having more dialogue, we can address that. And I appreciate Harry McManus taking the county legislators involved in that. So
When
more.
did you say that was?
It's in March. I don't have the formal date in front of me, but I'll get it to you. I'm bringing it up now more than anything because you will have thoughts and topics to bring up. really what we anticipate this meeting is, the request was that we meet twice, at least twice a year as a group. The governor may be formalizing the shared service panel again, which would be a whole other type of program. But if you have thoughts and topics or things that we might be able to work on, let me know, and I'll try to bring it to the attention of the larger group. Also at the Association of Towns, Department of State shared, I had it right on the top of my tongue, Tom, until you asked the date of the thing here. Of all the counties, because the New York City folks were excluded like so many other things, but I think it was 23 counties did not participate in the shared services panel last year. And the mandate was that you either participated last year or you could defer it to the following year. So this year, those counties will still have to do their shared services
There's only
panel.
like 64 counties in the state, right?
Yeah, so it was.
That's a large percentage.
It was a large percentage, and so again, I think our county is leading the way in some things by saying, not free services, don't get me wrong,
Right.
okay, but shared services, where are there some opportunities to do some things, and before that can occur, it comes through conversation, and you know, when you are not in the same room with your county legislators and your other municipal colleagues, you can't even have that conversation. So it's a good start. So I'm looking forward to it, more to come. As promised, I apologize for the delay. Again, I wanted more to have a dialogue with some folks down in Albany, New York City. Just to chat a little bit, and thanks Barb for also taking a look at it. This is still in draft. Still going to do a little bit more research, but the long and short of it is, I had proposed a while back that I think that it would benefit our town greatly if we created some type of like talent bank. And the idea is that if any member of the public had an interest in participating in a board or committee of the town, that they could find a way to get involved. And certainly that doesn't preclude us from recommending somebody, but I think that we should have them fill out an application, and you know, we should be looking at appointments to our boards and committees that have a wide spectrum of interest and knowledge and ability, where they represent on the town, both geographically, etc. And I think this is a good way to help us collect some of that information. On the flip side of it, as a note, went a little bit deeper than some of the more formal things, but we have the Assessment Review Board, the Dog Park Advisory Committee. That's something that we're planning on launching with the new dog park that's come on board, the Finance Board, the Zoning Board of Appeals, the Planning Board. I also spoke with Mel. She has, for some time, engaged in some conversations with me about putting together a more formal recreation committee too. I know that she's working on, and I think it's more up here in her head at the moment, but thinking about, you know, long-term plans, 5-year plans, 10-year plans for recreation. You know, recreation has changed a lot since, you know, the parks were developed over the years. The Water Advisory Committee. And, you know, we can add to this over the course of time. What I would ask is that individuals that have an interest would fill this out, and that they would submit it to Ricky's office to be stamped, and we would keep them in the office and then refer to that to use that as an opportunity for further discussion. Be it council members want to reach out to them and you know, have some conversations and think that, you know, oh, there's an appointment. And it also, you know, could be a notice to the general public too, so that it's not just, you know, us as a group that's coming up with names. It's, you know, anybody that calls and says, hey, I'm really curious. You know, I love the Katyville Park, for example. I'd like to be more involved in helping develop things like the Storybook Trail. Is there an opportunity for me? Yeah, there is. There's, you know, why don't you fill
So
this out?
this isn't the final draft?
No, that's why I said
Because you want to add that down at the bottom, any other interest.
Yeah, so what I'm asking for you folks is take a look at this, and sooner rather than later. This hasn't been, you know, the most critical thing at the moment to be worked on, so I've been plucking away at it a little bit here and there. But I also want to engage in some conversations with folks down at the Association of Towns and just how it's been used. Some towns continue to do it the way that we've done it, based upon recommendations of board, of council members, but I think it's another tool in the toolbox.
Michael, let me ask you a question. On this, are you available to serve on a year-round basis? Is that, if you're not, is that the kiss of death?
I don't think so, but I think it certainly.
Might depend on the committee.
Yeah, it might
Yeah.
depend on the committee. But I'll give you an example, is we have some folks that winter in other locations.
Exactly, yeah.
And I think.
A lot of them.
But I think it also is, and I don't want to prime this too much because I want you folks to look at this and give me your feedback. But I think there's some good question, that's a good question to think, do I have the time? Do I have the commitment? We can certainly dig into that a little bit deeper, but.
So what would you say, that somebody you speak with and they have an interest in it, then you give them this to fill out? Is that what you're saying?
I think that's part of it, but I would also imagine that we would put out a general casting call at least once a year and say, hey, there's if you're interested, this is the process, and
Yep.
I don't know if Debbie would agree with me, but we've talked about this in the past, that sometimes that we don't always find people to volunteer, but I think having a process by which people are able to avail themselves is a good thing.
Yeah, your question's a good one, Rick, because it should be a tool that we use to, rather than to react to a
Some
situation.
people are real skittish about coming forward to volunteer,
Sure.
but if you approach them, then they're more accessible to do it.
But rather than taking a reactionary approach and trying to react to a vacancy or something, this will give us a chance to be a
Right,
little more
no, that's what I'm
proactive.
saying,
Yeah.
somebody
what I
comes
like.
forward and says, geez, I'd like to, say something once in a while, well, would you be interested in joining,
Sure. And I think the other part to it that I would just note to folks is, just because someone fills out an application doesn't mean that it's an
No.
automatic
Guaranteed
appointment.
seat on the board,
You
yeah.
know,
Yeah, it states that.
And the way that I see that is for a number of reasons. Maybe because, some of our boards have lengthy appointments, for periods of time, and they're not sure if they can necessarily commit to the length, or maybe we're trying to diversify the representation as far as, where people are situated in the town, what have you.
Yep.
So,
This is just technical. Is it finance board or finance committee?
Finance advisory committee.
yeah.
What committees can I sign you up on?
Not, that should go the same as the other ones,
I'm on
except for
one
the planning
already.
board and the zoning board, it should be the same.
Yeah, so, again,
I already wrote those down, I got all these down
All right,
here.
Thomas.
wanted to provide you an opportunity to criticize Tom. If I didn't provide that, I wouldn't be doing my job.
No, you provided a form that we can, get suggestions on to make the final one, yes. It's a draft, I see it's a draft.
Yes.
It can be modified.
You're so.
So, all right.
What else do you have?
I say it in jest. All right. Draft resolutions, minutes, site plan deposit, construction deposit, requesting road name change, Oxbow Lane from Kent Falls. Also, yep. And that comes from Kelly Donahue,
Oh, is that, I
actually.
was gonna ask you, is that Kelly?
That's the Katyville side of it.
Yeah.
Are they gonna change the Skylar Falls side as well?
I don't know.
I don't believe so. I had a conversation with the fire chief this afternoon because this is the first, we had heard of it. And I also reached out to Mr. Donahue, so. I think it
What's
would
the
have,
reasoning?
well, I believe the reasoning is there is some confusion, especially when Katyville was dispatched. Because Katyville actually covers some territory on the other side of the bridge.
Okay.
So you don't know
Where
which
they
side
actually
you're
have to
going
go
to.
around.
All right.
This would eliminate that. I think it's a good idea, but I also think it would have been good if emergency services had reached out to the emergency providers and had a discussion before it went this far. So,
Just another good reason, Chuck, to have you here, because those lines of communication that we would not have been aware of, like the lack of that,
yeah.
but now you're on a few different angles.
Yeah, I just think it would have been good had they.
Right, but you can have those
Had they
conversations
reached
and
out.
let people know
Oh,
about
yeah.
it. Yeah, that's great.
I will.
Yeah, good for you.
Waiting for Kelly to get back to me.
So,
And then last is the resignation of the assessment control examiner, Kayla Martin. And I would just note, if I can find it here, we'll certainly do it. We'll ratify this next week. Dear Supervisor Cashman, I'm submitting my official resignation from the town of Plattsburgh. My last day of work will be March 5th, 2018. I've accepted my current position as Assessment Control Examiner at Clinton County Government Center. This is an opportunity that can further my growth and development in my career, and I've enjoyed working at the town of Plattsburgh and will miss my colleagues and the wonderful residents of this town. Best regards, Kayla Martin. So just received that the other day. And one of the things that I plan to do is, with individuals in general, to do an exit interview, just conversation. I think that it's always a good thing to do. So wish Kayla well. And
Is that done with the personnel committee?
if the personnel committee would like to have a conversation, they can certainly do that. As far as trying to schedule timing with that, I'll deflect one way or the other.
And Michael and I have talked about it, so I certainly would support that process. It's a good way to, the back end of somebody's career is to do something like that.
But you support Cashman having that interview?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of practicality, Meg, and functional results with these things,
Yeah.
you could get dragged out, and you can't really do that, so.
So, with that, I would accept the motion to go into executive session for the discussion of several employees' work history.
So moved.
Second.
Caustic, Fade. Ricky, can you do a quick roll call for me?
May I ask if we have any other things on litigation?
No, I have no updates as far as that.
All set?
Yep.
Thomas Work,
Yes.
Mike LaFave?
Yes.
Barb Hebert?
Yes.
Charles Costick?
Yes.
Mike Nash?
Yes. No action expected.